You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of Gambit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails, folks. We have the master here, Endall be all. He's a master at 3v3 and 5v5, but we're talking about 3v3 today, and specifically, we're talking about defensive comps in this video for 3v3, and there's no one better to do this with than Endall. Guys, go follow his channel right now. Before I even let him talk, I'm going to be linking his channel in the video description. Go give him a sub, and then come right back and we'll talk more about 3v3. So, Endall, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, I'm doing great, and a big hello to the Zareth and the Gambit community. Always enjoy these collabs. Look forward to them every single month. It's a great chance for me to and you, both of us, to refresh our memories on what we should be doing, and a chance to share knowledge with the broader community. So great to be here.
Yeah, this is one of my very favorites, just because it's not just like, here's a list, like, go forth and prosper, like, have a list. It's like, well, here's the list, but here's why, and the why is so important, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it's something which just going through the details of why something works and why something doesn't work, that just generates that conversation, and that additional insight which will help you do better in GAC.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty awesome to be able. It helps to troubleshoot too. I know when I used to supervise people at my most more recent position at my organization, people would be like, dude, can you just give me the formula of how to do this? Like, I could do this, then this, and this. And I'm like, no, like, you're going to learn how, because I don't want you knocking on my door telling me, like, I can't do this, I can't fix it, because that's annoying. And in this case, maybe it doesn't annoy us too much when people ask questions about this, but it's just nice. Like, if you need to figure something out, you have the tools available.
Absolutely. Teaching you to fish.
Yes, exactly. So the first team, and this team makes it onto the defensive list all the time because it's not good for banners on offense, but I mean, it's effective on offense too, but on defense, this team is going to be really interesting, actually. The General Skywalker, who has gotten a rework recently with Echo and ARC Troopers, so we're saving Rex and Fives for a different team. How do you think it's going to do now that General Skywalker is kind of like, his damage is nerfed, but he's stands up faster? What's going to happen with this?
I think if I remember correctly, the change happened in the last week of the last 3v3 season. So we did see 1 week of the revised General Skywalker in threes, and I think it was a little tricky because he got up a little faster and he was in full health and full protection. I think it's a little tricky, but with the right team, you still will be able to take it out. I think Rebels would still counter this, and obviously GLs would counter it as well. But the reason that we have Echo and Arc Trooper in here is because whatever you used to counter this team using Rex and Fives, you will use the same counter with Echo and Arc as well. So you might as well use your premium 501st clones, Rex and Fives, in another team and have Echo and Arc in here.
Yeah, I think so. And Echo goes really well with Arc. Like, they go really well together. I think this team is super obnoxious at some points, and yeah, like you say, you're going to use the same comp. People argue with me. They're like, well, this team gets more holds with Rex and Fives. I'm like, well, sure, like, they're better characters, but this team still holds at almost the same level and for less investment. And you can't. What team can you use Echo and Arc on? Really, like, you could put them with Shock T maybe and kill something in the middle. I don't really know.
Yeah. The one disadvantage of losing out Rex is you lose the speed over here, because none of these characters are really that fast, and in threes you could get a character like Gideon or Thrawn or maybe even Darth Revan to just go ahead and get a control on this team. That's the only downside of not having Rex in there, but otherwise I think you still need a good team to take this out.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, next up, we have Darth Revan, Basti, and Malak, the full bastard Darth Revan team. It's still good, folks, even still. I know that people were starting to use like troopers against it. I guess we'll have to see if that's a super consistent counter. Then maybe we start doing something different. Like I know that some people were starting to put like Maul lead with Darth Revan, especially in fives, which I think that's going to end soon enough. But I don't know. This team just keeps doing really well on defense.
It does, yeah. It's one of those golden teams that ever since 3v3 came out, this team has been doing really well. Even with after the addition of GLs, you find so many people just taking their own GLs against this just because they're not confident of a one shot in any other way. Even taking your own Darth Revan against it, even if you one shot, you get horrible banners. So the GL is usually the solution if you see this team in the front. Especially now with the nerf to Vader, people would not be comfortable taking Vader against Darth Revan anymore.
Oh yeah, yeah, and like the Jedi Knight Luke comp, which had a reasonably good success rate. Actually, that's been shot in the foot quite a bit because Jedi Luke he'll do more damage to Malak, but I've just seen it a couple times actually in 3v3. Like you said, the last week when those nerfs went into place, like Luke just really struggled. Like in theory, he does more damage to Darth Malak, but in practice, he just kind of flounders and dies. So. Yeah, this team's stock actually went up, of all things. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
All right, next team we have Jedi Luke. Here's the comp that loses to Darth Revan. So how fast do you have your Shak T on this squad, Endall?
For threes, I mod my Shak T for at least 350, 355. It's maybe even lower, 340, 345. But with General Kenobi in there, I think you can relax on those restrictions a little bit.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, he does tend to make the team a little more tricky to counter with your usual Vader, Thrawn counter. And now that Watt doesn't make Vader ignore defense anymore, Vader could have a tough time taking out or one-shotting Jedi Knight Luke, especially with Kenobi in there to give him crit immunity.
Yeah, I think that Kenobi's he's just really nice to hang out there because of that crit immune. It's really nice because Luke is actually reasonably resilient. Anyways, I let him lapse to Relic 7. He's he used to be 8. But even at Relic 7, I mean, he's still 90k protection, almost 90k health. Before any kind of leads or any kind of bonuses, and so having crit immune it could be pretty good. This team still loses to like Jedi Revan if you have a fast enough Jedi Revan. So having a fast Shak T is still not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, and I think another team that does decently well against this is highly relic Treya squads. Treya lead just nerfs a lot of damage when these guys get attacks out of turn or buffs out of turn. And Treya lead also shrugs off any debuffs, any stuns and all that these guys have. So they can't effectively control these guys as well as you can in a non-Treya lead. So Treya lead, Darth Revan, all these squads can't be stunned, which renders Luke a little bit ineffective.
Yeah, I think it's still a good defensive squad. I mean, I still got holds with it last season after the nerf, but yeah, it definitely has taken a step back. So the next team, Commander Luke with 2PO and 3PO, I keep thinking it's going to just go away because people can use troopers against it. People can use all kinds of Jedi Training Ray should be able to beat it, but I still got holds all through the entire last season. I mean, there were some times that I lost with it, but I think this team is still if you don't have one specific counter for it, if you don't know how to do troopers or people who let their Relic 8 Dark Trooper revert to Relic 5, this team still seems like it's got legs.
It does, yeah, especially if you mod CLS and 3PO properly for threes. You need crit avoid on CLS ideally. You need tenacity on 3PO. You need a little bit of tenacity is good on Luke as well. All of that really helps to get to make counters problematic against them.
I'm trying to show people my modding here because I have a crit avoid arrow on Luke, but it's blocked by your head and all. So.
Yeah, this is one team which can surprise because you rely so much on a specific debuff landing like days or ability block. And if that doesn't happen, the counter can go south really, really fast. So it's another one of those RNG teams, which is great to have in the front because you don't really want to invest a GL against it. But if you take any other softer counter, it might sometimes have problems. So great, tricky team to have in the front.
Absolutely. And if your opponent does just use troopers every single time for a 54, which is the max in 3v3, then you could just keep this unit intact and use it on offense, and it's still pretty high banners because Chupio is able to recover at least a little bit of health or protection and health from doing his attacks, and Commander Luke can do his stance shift and heal himself. So, and it's very effective. I mean, like I said, there's not many teams that can actually beat this, and all the teams that can't beat this are actually beat by this on offense. So,
Yep.
I want to experiment with this team actually against the GL Newt team that we're going to talk about in a minute here.
Yeah.
I want to see if that actually works. It's probably a bad idea. No, nothing beats GL Newt. Okay, so next up we have Hux, and this is the pretty standard team for Hux. I mean, he boosts their, like, he lets everyone hit back with counters. He lets everyone hit harder with their basics. What do you think of this team?
I've been surprised by this team quite a lot in the past. I mean, Hux's lead anyway gives so much of damage boost. In addition, these guys are all assisting and countering so much. Hux basically gives everyone 100% counter chance when he has dominance. And first order Stormtrooper, every time he uses his basic, he calls someone else to assist as well. And all of that basically, melts the enemy team. I've been surprised by this team quite a lot in the past. So it's one of those sleeper teams that if you don't take the right team against it and control them right from the beginning, you can get overwhelmed with damage.
Yeah, I will say that this team was always so scary to me, and then last season I started using Darth Revan a little bit on offense, and so you can split Darth Revan and Basti off and use Malak to solo things, and this is one team that can be soloed by Malak. So if you're facing an opponent who does that, then maybe this team needs to be somehow redistributed in a way, because you don't want your opponent to get a 56 on you.
And I think it was you who mentioned last time that Mon Mothma did pretty well against Hux as well.
Oh yeah, she's pretty gross with it's it's so silly, man. That Mothra team with Cassian and K2, it's just like a bunch of nothing characters, but they do great. We'll talk more about them on our offense video, but yeah, this is one of those teams that it's like it's really tough to counter until you find the right counter, and then it's like, oh, that's not too bad. Okay, so this team is in no way easy to counter. Like, this is the team that people use Galactic Legends to solo because GL Newt, man, in 3v3, like, he gets holds like crazy. I expect him, at least in my first couple weeks, to get, a ton of holds, a hold every match almost.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, this combination, you can't really get an easy kill. Newt, if you try to kill him, he goes under stealth and he gets a turn immediately. You can't kill Django because he's under damage immunity, and you can't easily kill B1. You need something with tons of assists or counter chance to kill B1. So this team is going to hang around for a while. You can't one-shot one of the characters easily to get a control of the battle. And the longer you allow this team to remain intact with all three characters, the more they're going to wreak havoc on you. Extortion spreads, these guys get faster and faster, their damage gets boosted up, and things can get crazy. So this is one of the teams which I've got a lot of success on in the past as well.
Yeah, I really like it. And I think you said maybe last time we were doing this, you'd like to put this team in the back zone. I personally, especially because of all the reworks and people going to be keeping more Galactic Legends, I just like putting it in the front zone because either they use a Galactic Legend to move on or they suffer.
Yeah.
Like there's not a good counter to this really outside of a Galactic Legend. I mean, Jedi Revan works until it doesn't. Like I remember one of my, I think my one loss last 3v3 season, I tried to use Jedi Revan. I was like, oh yeah, I always use this, and then I just lost anyways for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I mean, if Django wasn't there, Newt and B1 with any other separatist, I usually like to take Geos against it because with all the out of turn assists and all that, you're typically able to get a lot of turns and get out pretty fast. But with Django in there, with damage immunity and with the contract fulfilled, and R7 Django, which most people have, he can very easily one-shot one of your Geos and put you back to nothing. So I wouldn't risk Geos against this particular team with Django in there.
No, like he'll just one shot your spy if he gets lucky. He can just destroy him. Yeah. Now we have the social contract team, and this team has lost a little bit of its stock just because everyone uses Wedge Han Chewie on it for 54 or whatever. But at the same time, if you can draw off Wedge Han Chewie, like in some ways especially when people have been getting more creative lately with Wedge and Han and Chewie, like where they're gonna go and how to redistribute them. Like this team has saved me a few times. I'm like, there's just no way I don't get cleared here. And then this team gets like 8 holds and they're still alive.
Yeah, this team, it's one of those teams which draws, even though it gets 54 against it, but it draws some really good counters. People use up their Han and Chewie, which are premium characters in 3v3. A lot of people use their troopers against this squad as well. Lately, I've been seeing one cheap counter, which is Night Sisters. You need to have your Night Sisters modded a certain way. You need to have your Spirit relict and faster than the enemy hero Finn. But I have been seeing a lot of people have success with Talzin Night Sister Spirit and another Night Sister in there to basically take this team out. But you need to have your Spirit faster than your Finn to get ahead of the team.
Yeah, I think it works. The bad thing about Night Sisters, of course, is you're not going to get your max banners, and this team can be beat for max banners if you have the right team. So, that might be worthwhile. You're like, sure, I'll trade it for 3 banners. I don't care. Or not. But also another good combo here is if you take the OG Finn out so there's no lead and put Nest in here, that can really throw people off as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how Night Sisters would do. They'd probably do okay, though the days from Nest would be okay. All right, this is one of my favorite teams that I like to place on defense. And so last season, I wanted to place this on defense. I did a little bit till I realized that Zombie plus someone else and Supreme Leader Kylo could be the General Kenobi teams. That's not an option anymore. They nerfed Zombie going with Supreme Leader Kylo now against General Kenobi or Jedi Master Kenobi. So that's not an option anymore. So I think this team, for me at least, is going to be making a comeback on defense. What do you think of this squad? And I'm usually the one who insists on putting this down, but I don't think we talked about it much pre-show here.
I prefer the flexibility of Sisters on offense just as a backup cleanup option. My Sisters are not that relic up. With the exception of Daka and Spirit, who are relic 5, the others are all G12 for me. So I am always afraid that my Sisters will get taken out very easily with a Trooper team or a Bounty Hunter squad. One thing that I would like to do going into 3v3 change in modding is mod my Night Sister Spirit really, really fast. I think having a fast relic Night Sister Spirit, whether in a Night Sister squad or not, I think that gives you a lot of flexible options in 3v3. Whether you want to keep her with old Ben or in a cleanup squad or with Night Sisters like this. It's always good to have your Spirit modded fast in a 3v3 setting.
Yeah, I think so. I like to have damage mods on her, but fast damage mods.
Fast, yeah, exactly.
All right, so next here, this is just a kind of an obnoxious team. Dengar with Nest and L3, and they're all scoundrels. The Dengar lead, of course, comes into play. There's a few teams that can beat this, but this team does actually cause a few issues here and there. I'm thinking now, like we tried to make each the offense and defensive team or comps different, but I think that Dengar, we actually double dipped on him. Like of all the characters we could use twice, we're like, yeah, we'll use Dengar twice, sure.
Yeah. Dengar is just such an obnoxious character on defense. He goes on stealth, remains in stealth, and prevents you from going under stealth. So that leaves Nest free to attack anyone, because obviously Nest can't counter if the character is under stealth. So Dengar prevents that and allows Nest to go free and countering everyone out there, which is really great. and having L3 in there helps to give Nest enough breathing room to really ramp up her damage. So that's another great squad. So Dengar is basically hiding behind a taunt and behind a L3 taunt.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And then obviously like his leadership also it helps bounty hunters, which doesn't help in this, but it also impacts enemies. All enemies just have minus 50% crit damage, and so if you use the wrong team and Nest is tanky enough, then this whole people will just wither and die to this eventually. Like Nest will kill you. I don't know that I'm going to use this comp too much, honestly. Like I might though. L3 is such a good tank. It's kind of a good use of your leftover characters, and you need to use something serious to beat Nest almost always.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so this one's more of a kind of a speculative team because we're gonna have Maul in the second half of this season. I think week 3 is, maybe we'll even have him week 2 actually. I think we'll have him like a day before week 2 lock. And so we have Maul lead with Canderous and Bo. I mean, it could probably go anyway. Like, it's so difficult to read his kit and know exactly what his leadership even does, to be honest.
Yeah, I've had to read that kit a few times, and I'm still confused about how that whole that passing of the Mandalore mantle happens. But his lead is pretty good. I mean, I've had limited experience battling him in Conquest Sector 4 final boss, but he tends to do a lot with characters using the basic, and Canderous does amazing things on his basic as well. So especially if you've got Canderous relicked up. He, in my opinion, might do well under a Maul lead, and Maul lead gives all the characters, the healthiest character taunt and 100% defense. So you really need to use your strongest Mandalorian characters with Maul. You can't afford to use G12 characters because they'll end up, if they end up taunting, they'll end up getting defeated pretty easily. So. Relic Mandalorians under Maul, I think, will do a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, guys, if you have, or maybe it's not obvious, but if you have Lord Vader, he's gonna go with Lord Vader. I'm pretty sure. But like Endall, you're not going for Lord Vader immediately, right? I feel like you were telling me like you're gonna have Maul for a while at least before you get. Vader.
Exactly. So I have to figure out what to do with Maul in a standalone team without Vader. And Maul lead is a natural way to go. I think he does so much better on his lead than as a side character, as opposed to Cat, who acts as a support character to so many other amazing teams if you don't have JMK, like Padme or Bam, for example. But Maul, you need him in the lead if you're not using him with Vader.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how he goes with that. And honestly, like then we're gonna start splitting him off sometimes from Lord Vader if we don't need him. Like. I'm very intrigued by him. That this season, that's the biggest question mark in my opinion. Okay, so now we have Treya here, just a Treya trio. Like this is the very standard team, and you almost don't need her. Like you used to be like you have to keep her on offense because she has to be the one to kill Padme because nothing else kills Padme. Now we have like Padme's a huge ridiculous mess with Kenobi out there and Cat and all these different options. Like Padme's not even on defense all the time. If she is, she's a weird version. So Treya can go on defense sometimes.
Yeah, and the thing I love about the Treya team is they punch above their weight on defense. I mean, what do you even use to counter them in threes? I mean, we are so not used to facing Treya lead that people try to go and overkill this particular team. Use their rebels against it, Han and Chewie, and just burst through them, or use JKR or gas or something like that. So even if you're not using GLs against it, it does pull a really strong team. And the other reason not to use Treya and Nihilus and Scion on offense is banners. I mean, if you're pinching banners, and there's a very high chance that you end with 51, 52 with these guys in there. But on defense, they will do a really good job of pulling a strong counter. Or even if they take a relatively weaker counter, they'll at least lose banners because of the nature of Treya's lead.
Yeah, I don't know what to counter this team with. Like a Galactic Legend, get a 56 on it probably, or maybe a 55. But otherwise, I mean that's true for every Galactic Legend. And if you put this team up front or somewhere that if you can make sure that they use their Galactic Legends elsewhere, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
The thing which makes Treya so great, and characters like Treya, Thrawn, and all, who've got these overpowered debuffs like Isolate and Fracture, the power of these debuffs get amplified in a 3v3 scenario because you completely take one third of the team completely out of commission. And you're left to, you have to manage with two people now instead of three. And that can completely screw up your plans, especially if the wrong character gets isolated or fractured. Which is why, I mean, Thrawn obviously you want to save for offense in most cases, but in Treya, you keep her on defense. That isolate can really wreck a lot of plans.
yeah, well, I mean, this team is so disruptive. Like, Scion's getting rid of all the buffs. Treya is getting rid of all the debuffs and rid of like a third of the buffs because one of the characters isolated. Nihilus is draining all of the cooldowns. Treya is
Yeah.
draining all the cooldowns. Like, it's so discordant to me mentally when I'm like, I'm gonna use this ability coming up, and then she's isolated the character, and Nihilus is force drained, and you're on a 2-turn cooldown for the bait for like a just your special that you want to use. You're like, oh, I guess I'll use that in a little bit if I'm still alive, if Nihilus
Yeah.
hasn't killed me. So, yeah,
I'm
this team.
frankly amazed at CG's ability to keep all the raid characters so relevant even today. Whether it's Han or General Kenobi or Darth Treya, all of these guys have remained relevant for years and years. And whether it's new characters supporting them or just the strength of their kits by themselves, it's a pretty amazing job.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And Treya, it's such a flexible team on offense too. We could gush for a while. It's very good on defense as well. Good option at least. Now here's a new speculative team, guys. We're assuming that on offense we're going to have Bad Batch be Hunter with Wrecker and Echo, and therefore we have Tech here alongside Rex and Fives, and it's a very interesting squad. I have no idea how it's gonna do. Frankly, like Fives, yeah, the fact that you have to kill Fives first is just going to make this team spin. I think maybe out of control potentially. What are your thoughts on it? And you
Yeah, I
had some
think
really good insights.
I think the addition of translation that tech gives can make this team a little tricky because translation, it increases the max health. So if Fives has got translation, he's now 30% more healthy, so that's extra health that you need to chew through, or you need to dispel him. And then translation also at 3 stacks reduces the cooldowns or makes them cycle their cooldowns faster. So Rex is able to do his form up or annihilate ability more frequently, which makes things a little more tricky. So Rex Tech always starts in stealth. So you are forced to go after Fives. You can't really go after Tech. You're forced to go after Fives. You can't go after Rex or Tech, and that makes a team a little more tricky.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a very similar squad to the Rex 5's 3PO team that I've seen
Yeah.
a lot, because 3PO, I mean, he does different things than Tech, obviously, but in a lot of ways, like, this is similar, like, having that translation be able to reduce the cooldowns on Rex, like,
Yep.
Rex starts, like, just going, he just gets his Rexecute every couple turns after a while, like, it just starts spinning out of
Yeah.
control, so, yeah, this
Yeah.
team could get really tricky to beat right away.
Yep. And just like 3PO, Tech also gives translation. Goes under stealth, and he's got that additional clone synergy, which with 3PO doesn't have.
Yeah, I actually really like this idea, and I'm totally stealing it, 100%.
Yep.
Okay, now here's a squad of my own, and by my own I mean my one of the Gambit listeners and fans. Byro has when working with him, he's used this comp a lot. He actually has an account that is 100% dark side. It's quite fascinating. He almost had a 12-0 season top 10 with it. He lost. He actually won all of his matches, I think, but got blocked by some guy with the Galactic Legend who was trying to. Anyways, we don't need to get into the drama, but he's been talking about this team a lot to me, and I'm really excited because Stormtrooper goes super well in fives with Lord Vader, and Gideon and Thrawn are kind of just like, in a way, castaways right now. This team is really interesting just because you have so much turn meter manipulation. You have Stormtrooper, who is, an Imperial remnant, so he's interacting with Moff Gideon in a lot of really cool ways. And I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on this team.
Yeah,
Actually,
this is a very unique and creative team that you came up with. It is the I would usually always think of saving Thrawn and Gideon on offense just because of the the first mover advantage that they give you. But if I would face this team on defense, I mean, I would maybe underestimate it and then go in and get caught when I discover just how much of TM manipulation there is and how much of protection region there is. Or I would be afraid and then go in and overkill it. So this is something which, if people haven't faced a combination before, and if they see characters that they're not used to seeing on defense, it can throw people off. So I'm really curious to actually see if I can face this team and practice against it. It'll be something unique. Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited for it, and I actually think I'm going to keep it on offense a lot as well. Just depends,
Hmm.
but I think it'll work well on defense. I've faced similar teams actually. It's just you don't realize just how ridiculously powerful all that turn meter manipulation is with Thrawn and Gideon combined, and then with a good tank alongside, giving them buffs. It's considerable.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got two more teams here, Endall. First, we've got the pretty standard crew team. There's not a ton to say about this, so I'll let you mostly talk about it. I mean, it's still fine. What are your thoughts?
It is, yeah. I mean, I usually like Crew and Fox on offense just because of the flexibility against Rex teams. But on defense as well, there's a lot of people who find a tough time or you who overkill this team with JKR or Padme or something like that. So the main purpose of this team is to strip banners and to pull a really good team from your opponent. Both Kylo and Kylo Ren, they're healthy. They don't get affected by percentage health effects, and most people, if they have SLKR, will have them highly relicked up as well, these guys. So great team, just keep it on defense and make it your opponent's problem.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it doesn't get countered by everything, so people people can fail against it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Now, the final team, and this is speculative. We don't know exactly what Fennec is going to be doing, but I do know that she's very interesting. She's way more interesting, in my opinion, for bounty hunters, rather than the Bando team that CG is suggesting. So obviously only gear 11 here, but I think like this is kind of all throwaway characters, right? I mean, no one has like a central use for, oh man, but if I use that, I'll have to give up Cad Bane. It's like, oh yeah, I could spare that dude right away, you know. But what
Yeah.
I like the most, I'm sorry, let
Yeah.
me just finish this one thing. The thing I like the very most about Fennec is her ability to hit. Oh, where'd she go? Her ability to hit 5 times on her basic interacts so well with all of the different contracts. That's my very favorite thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really unique thing, which because bounty hunters, a lot of them reach the contracts if they hit a target a certain number of times in certain conditions. They have the healthiest one, the weakest one, debuffed ones, all of that. And I think what does Embo's lead do? When they're a non-buffed, you have to hit a non-buffed character a certain number of times, 15 times. So 3 of Fennec's basics are, against a non-debuffed, a non-buffed ally is going to get you there. It counts 5 times, so it can a third or a quarter of the contract can be finished just by Fennec's lead or Fennec's basic, which is an amazing thing. So I think in a bounty hunter squad, Fennec will do really well, whether in 3s or 5s. The other good thing about Fennec is her lead. Obviously, this is more relevant when the character is relicked up, but her leadership basically is more stronger in a 3v3 situation than a 5v5 situation because the lower number of allies that Fennec has, the more her stats get. So if she has if she has 4 allies, then she gets 100% penalty on a health. Because she starts with 100% more max health. But if she only has 2 allies, then she only gets a 50% penalty. So she'll actually be stronger in her lead in a 3v3 situation once you have her relicked up and all that, just because she gets a stat boost.
Yeah, I think she's going to be really interesting. Obviously, no relics on her yet for me, but I do know for a fact. And guys, go check out Van Seal, Vancele. He's going to be releasing some videos about Fennec. He's the bounty hunter guy. He has everyone at Relic 8. I'm guessing he even has Fennec there, but he has been saying the Embo lead with Fennec is going to potentially be really strong. I don't know if that's just 5v5 or not, but I'm intrigued by this team. I don't know if I'm going to place this specific team on defense as it stands, just because, Gear 11 in Division 1, where I'm at, is probably folly. People are just going to destroy this team without them taking a turn. But the thought experiment value is there, certainly.
Yep.
So, what else is there to say on defense, Endall? We're about done with the video, I believe. We're out of teams. We got 15 teams, 15 more for offense, guys. Watch for that.
Yeah, I think I would just repeat the same thing that we always say for these kind of defensive videos is make your defense stretch, make your opponent think for each and every one of his options. Don't have any easy gimme options. No easy teams on defense. Even if you don't keep any of your GLs on defense, even if you feel comfortable keeping all your GLs on offense, make sure you've got 15 tough teams that your opponent has to chew through. Even if they use all their GLs, they'll only be able to take, even if they have like 5, 6, 7, 8 tough teams on defense, if you make them sweat for the other 6 or 7 teams, then your defense has done its job well.
Yep, absolutely. So, Endall, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Guys, in the video description, once again, Endall's information and stuff, go check out his YouTube channel. Don't want to miss anything this man has to say. So, shall we call it good, Endall?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Gambit prevails.